cold rain hit the broken shell of an old cargo shuttle, half buried in red sand. Inside, an alien mother curled around her child. She was thin, her skin a pale violet, marked with scars and bruises. The baby didn't cry. It had learned not to. Crying attracted attention. And attention meant danger. They had been running for 7 days. Risha, once a respected scientist in the Varnan Empire, was now labeled a traitor. Not because she had betrayed anyone, but because she had protected her hybrid child, half Varnan, half human. Her people had strict rules. Mixing bloodlines was forbidden. The punishment was death. For both, her mate, the human, had disappeared after a supply mission gone wrong. Maybe he was dead, maybe captured. Risha couldn't wait to find out. She had to run. The shuttle creaked with the weight of wind and sand. Risha pressed her trembling fingers to the child's forehead. Warm, too warm. The fever was rising. And she had no more medicine left. She couldn't go back to the cities. Couldn't risk asking anyone. Every system had her face now. Wanted high threat to be terminated on sight. The child whimpered. Suddenly, a sound cut through the storm. Not thunder. Not wind. A mechanical hum. A small human-made rover hovered past the rocks outside. Its light scanned in wide circles. Risha froze. Her heart pounded. Human tech here? That meant someone nearby. She had one choice: hide and wait, or risk everything. She stepped out of the shuttle with a cloth over her face. The cold bit into her skin. The rover paused, its scanners catching movement. A voice came through a speaker. Male. Calm. Don't move. I see you. A beam of light focused on her. She squinted, then saw the figure step out behind the rover. It was a human, tall, rough-bearded, wearing patched-up armor. His face was tired, but his eyes were clear. He looked straight at her, then down to the bundle she held. Is that a child? She didn't answer. I won't hurt you, the man said. You're not the first one I've seen hiding from the Empire. She still didn't speak. I'm just a scavenger, he said, looking for scrap. But I've got a heater, a medkit, and clean water. You want it? Risha looked down at her baby. Its breathing was weak. She took a small step forward. The man knelt and placed the kit on the ground, then backed away. Take it. She moved fast, grabbed the box, and ran back inside the shuttle. He didn't follow. She closed the hatch and tore open the kit. Real medicine. Her hands shook as she injected the child with a fever stabilizer. Minutes passed. The baby's skin cooled. The trembling stopped. She stared at the closed hatch. The man was still outside, sitting on a rock, watching the storm. He hadn't tried to force his way in. He hadn't called for help. He hadn't looked at her like she was something disgusting. He just waited. After an hour, he stood up. I'm leaving, he said through the speaker. There's an old outpost 2 clicks west. If you want shelter, I'll be there. Doors unlocked. Then he walked away. Risha watched him vanish into the sandstorm. For the first time in weeks, she didn't feel completely alone. That night, she couldn't sleep. She sat near her child, listening to the wind, thinking about the human. Could she trust him? What if it was a trap? But then again, if he wanted to report her, he already had the chance. By morning, the storm had cleared. The child was better. Still weak, but better. She wrapped him tightly and stepped out. There was only one direction to go, toward the outpost. She walked slowly. Every sound made her flinch. But when the small building appeared on the horizon, she didn't stop. The door opened with a gentle hiss. Warm air flowed out. Inside, the human was sitting near a fire, reading something on a screen. He didn't look up. She hesitated at the threshold. Didn't think you'd come, he said. She entered silently. He stood and walked over. Name's Grayson. She stared at him. I didn't ask yours, he said. But I'm guessing you need more than just shelter. She lowered the cloth from her face. My name is Risha. He nodded. She looked around. The room was simple. Metal walls, a small bed, a kitchen unit. Old, but safe. A rare thing in this part of the galaxy. Grayson pointed to the bed. Let the little one rest. You can explain things later. She didn't move right away, but something inside her broke. A wall she'd kept up for too long. She walked in, not knowing that this moment, this quiet meeting in a storm, would change both their lives forever. The fire crackled softly as Risha sat beside her sleeping child. She hadn't felt this warmth in many days, not from the fire, but from the silence that wasn't full of danger. The little boy, her son, slept quietly now. His fever had dropped, and his breathing was smooth. Grayson sat on the far side of the room, sipping something hot from a tin mug. He didn't ask questions. He just watched her with calm eyes. That made her nervous, but also curious. He broke the silence first. How long were you hiding out there? She looked up. Her voice was dry. 7 days, maybe more. You looked like it, he said. Your kid's lucky. That fever could have killed him. She held the child tighter. I had no choice. The Empire wants him dead, and me too. Grayson didn't flinch. Varnan Empire doesn't like half-breeds. Her head snapped up. You know? He nodded slowly. Yeah, I've seen things. Fought in border wars. Saw what they did to people like you. Risha didn't expect sympathy. But there it was. In his eyes. Not pity, just understanding. I didn't ask to love a human, she whispered. But I did. And now they call me a traitor. Grayson leaned back against the wall. Empire's good at that. Making love feel like crime. They sat in silence again. The outpost was small, one big room, a storage unit, a solar cell bank. But it had food, medicine, clean water, and working heat. To Risha, it felt like a palace. Grayson stood up and pulled out a packet from a cupboard. You eat human food? I can manage, she said. He heated the meal and placed it in front of her. Eat while you can. Snowstorm's coming tonight. She blinked. Snow? On this planet? Highlands get cold fast. You'll see. After she ate, Risha finally asked, Why are you helping me? Grayson didn't answer right away. He looked at the fire. Long time ago, someone helped me when I didn't deserve it. Maybe I'm just paying that back. That night, Risha laid her son on the bed. She sat beside him, not sleeping. Every creak of metal made her jump. She didn't trust this peace. It felt too strange. Grayson gave her space. He rolled out a blanket on the floor and didn't say another word. At some point in the night, the wind began to howl. The walls trembled lightly. Grayson woke, checked the thermal seals, then returned to his corner. The storm lasted hours. Morning brought silence again, and snow. Risha looked out the window, her eyes wide. Thick white sheets covered the red sands. Grayson handed her a cup. Warm root drink. Helps your kind more than coffee. She took it, surprised. You studied Varnan biology? He shrugged. Dated a Varnan once. Didn't end well, but I learned a few things. Her lips curved into a faint smile. The first in a long time. After breakfast, Grayson asked, What's your plan now? She shook her head. There is no plan. I was hoping to find a smuggler. Someone who could take us to the outer colonies. Somewhere the Empire doesn't reach. Grayson rubbed his jaw. Dangerous route, full of slavers and pirates. Especially with a kid. I know, she said. But we have no future here. He stood and walked over to a hidden storage box. From inside, he pulled out a folded map and laid it on the table. This outpost is off-grid, he said, pointing. Old mining trails run through the south. If we go far enough, we reach the mountains. Past that is Sector 12 outside Empire control. Is it safe? She asked. Safer than here. But it won't be easy. There are patrols, drones, frozen rivers, and your son can't walk that far yet. She bit her lip. Then I'll carry him. Grayson looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. You've got guts. I'm a mother, she replied softly. That's all I need. He folded the map and tucked it into a small pack. I can get you through part of the way. I have. An old speeder. But once we hit the forest zone, we walk. Why help me? She asked again. This time, he answered with a tired smile. Because I've seen what your empire does. And I've had enough of watching it happen. The wind howled again. Risha looked down at her child, his small hand curled into hers. He was still too young to know fear. But she felt it every second. Grayson reached for a small badge clipped to his belt. It wasn't active, but it once belonged to someone in the resistance. You were with the rebellion? She whispered. Long ago, he said. And maybe it's time to fight again, even if it's just helping you two survive. Outside, the wind grew stronger. Inside for the first time, Risha started to believe, not just in escape, but in hope. Snowflakes drifted gently from the sky as the wind softened. The storm had passed, but the cold stayed. Risha wrapped her child tightly in a thick cloth Grayson had given her. The boy's eyes opened slowly. He looked better. He even smiled. Little, Grayson was outside, checking the speeder. The machine was old and scratched, its engine covered with rust. But it still ran. Barely. He tightened a few bolts and shouted, "She make it to the mountains." After that, we go on foot. Risha stepped out, holding her son. You're sure? No, he said with a chuckle. But I've done worse. Risha stared at the pale blue sky. When do we leave? An hour. Before the next scan cycle. Empire drones pass by every 6 hours. We move between them. She nodded. They packed light. Grayson had a small stash of protein blocks, water tabs, 2 blasters, and the map. Risha only had her child and a bag of tiny keepsakes photos, old letters, and a necklace once worn by her human mate. Before leaving, she looked around the outpost one last time. It had been their safe place for only 2 days, but already it felt important. Like a memory she wanted to keep. The speeder started with a loud groan. Grayson sat in front, steering with care. Risha sat in the back, holding her child close. The snowy land stretched in all directions. White hills, cracked stone ridges. Strange, frozen plants poked out here and there. It was beautiful, in a quiet, dangerous way. After 2 hours, they reached a narrow canyon. Grayson slowed down. Watch the ridges, he warned. This is where drones like to hide. They passed through without trouble. But soon, Risha noticed something strange in the distance. A flash, a shimmer in the snow. Grayson. She whispered. Look ahead, he squinted. Damn, we've got company. A black dot moved quickly toward them, then another. Empire drones. They're scanning, he said. I'll try to lose them. The speeder jerked and sped up. Snow flew up in clouds behind them. The drones followed, fast and sharp like hawks. Grayson turned into a side path, heading into a denser area filled with broken rocks. They can't follow well in tight spaces, he said, but the second drone dropped lower and fired. A red beam hit the back of the speeder, melting part of the engine cover. Smoke burst out. Grayson cursed and slammed the controls. Hold on. The speeder swerved sharply and bounced. Risha held the child close, protecting his head with her arms. The machine crashed behind a rock wall. Hard. The world tilted. Everything shook. Then it went still. Risha gasped and sat up. Her child was crying, scared but safe. Grayson groaned, holding his shoulder. "I'm fine," he muttered. "Just a bruise." He jumped out and aimed his blaster. "We've got seconds. We need to disappear." He pressed a button on the speeder's dash. The machine lit up, then beeped. "What did you do?" Risha asked. "Set it to explode after we run. It'll mess with their scans." They ran into the rocky path, slipping between boulders and old mining tunnels. The cold cut through their clothes, but they didn't stop. Behind them, the speeder exploded in a bright ball of fire. The drones paused, confused by the blast. It gave them time. Grayson led them deep into an old tunnel. It smelled like dust and metal. Inside they rested, hidden behind a collapsed beam. Risha leaned against the wall, breathing hard. "We almost died." "But we didn't," he said. "That's what matters." Her hands were shaking. Not from cold, but from fear. Grayson opened his pack and handed her a heat stick. "Rub this between your hands. It'll warm you up." She did. Slowly, the shaking stopped. The child, too, had calmed down. He curled in her lap, breathing softly. Grayson looked at them, his face serious. "They'll double patrols now. We need to move after sunset." Risha asked, "How far to the mountains?" "About 8 kilometers, he said. "Rough terrain." "But I know a hidden trail." She nodded. "Then we go." Grayson looked at her carefully. "You sure you're ready?" "I have no other choice," she said. That night, the temperature dropped even more. They stayed close for warmth, sharing the last of the heated food. Grayson kept watch while Risha slept a little. The stars above were bright and cold. In the distance, something howled. Maybe a wild beast. Or a hunter drone searching in the dark. Grayson gripped his blaster tighter. They had made it this far, but the real danger was just beginning. Asterisk by dawn. The tunnel was still and silent. Only the faint crackle of wind echoed from outside. Grayson stepped out first, scanning the landscape with a small sensor. No drones nearby. Not yet. He turned back to Risha. "Time to move. We've got a few hours before the next sweep." Risha carried her child close to her chest, wrapped tightly in cloth. His skin was cooler now, healthier. But he was still weak. Every few minutes, she would press her hand gently to his back, feeling his breath. They started walking across the 2 minutes. She would press her hand gently to his back, feeling his breath. Jagged terrain. Snow had melted in some places, leaving wet mud. Sharp stones and steep hills slowed them down. Grayson moved ahead, clearing paths and checking every corner. Risha followed, careful and quiet. They walked for hours without speaking. Much. At one point, Risha asked, "Do you have family?" Grayson didn't answer right away. Then he said, "I had a sister. Empire bombed the colony where she lived. She was a teacher. They said she was hiding rebels. She wasn't." Risha said nothing, but she understood. Pain followed all who defied. The Empire. Around midday, they reached a high ridge. Below it lay the frozen river Grayson had warned about. It stretched wide, ice cracking in spots. But it was the fastest path through. "We go across," Grayson said. "Stay light on your feet. Don't stop." Risha took a deep breath. "I'm ready." They stepped onto the ice. Each step made the surface groan. Cracks spidered under their feet. Halfway through, a sharp sound cut the air. A drone. Grayson turned. Eyes wide. "Keep going." The drone dropped down fast, scanning the area. Risha clutched her child tightly and ran. The ice shifted and squealed beneath her. Grayson raised his blaster and fired. The first shot hit the drone's sensor. It spun, disoriented. Then it returned fire. A red bolt struck the ice near Grayson's feet. The explosion sent a shock wave through the frozen river. Risha screamed as the ice cracked wide. Grayson yelled, "Run to the rocks!" The ice shattered under him. He fell into the freezing water with a loud splash. Risha stopped, terrified. Grayson! His hand appeared, gripping the edge of the ice. He was pulling himself up, shaking and soaked, but alive. The drone aimed. Again, Risha looked down at her child. Then she did something she hadn't done in a long time. She turned. She ran back. Grabbing Grayson's hand, she pulled with all her strength. Together they rolled onto the ice just before another blast hit. Drone's power pack buzzed loudly. It was about to fire again. Grayson coughed, reached into his coat, and threw a small round device toward it. A flash grenade. Boom. The drone dropped out of the sky, spinning wildly. It crashed into the river and sank. Silence returned, broken only by their heavy breaths. Risha stared at Grayson. You're insane, he smiled weakly. So are you. You came back. You helped my child, she said. I couldn't leave you. Grayson sat up, shivering. We need fire, now. They crawled to the rocky edge where a few trees grew. Grayson pulled out a heating capsule from his pack and activated it. Warmth spread through the rocks. He stripped off his wet coat, teeth chattering. Risha covered his shoulders with the outer wrap she'd been using for the baby. I'll be fine, she said. You saved us. Grayson laughed. Yeah, but who's saving me now? They both chuckled, even though they were cold, tired, and hunted. After resting, Grayson stood slowly. Mountains are close. We reached them by dusk. Risha helped him walk. The child slept peacefully now, untouched by the chaos around them. As they climbed toward the rocky path leading into the hills, Risha asked, What's in Sector 12? Grayson's face grew serious. Old rebel camp, disbanded mostly, but some still live there. Outlaws, refugees, people like us. Will they help? If I vouch for you, he said, they might. She hesitated. And after that? Grayson looked at her. We survive. We build something new. Risha looked ahead at the mountains. She had lost everything her name, her home, her mate. But here, beside a human who had no reason to help her, she found something more powerful than safety. She found the beginning of trust, and maybe, just maybe, a future. The mountain air was thin and cold. Each breath burned in Risha's lungs as they climbed higher. The path was narrow, full of sharp rocks and icy patches. Grayson limped slightly, still weak from the riverfall, but he didn't complain. Child stayed wrapped and warm against Risha's chest. He barely made a sound. Almost there, Grayson said, his voice low. There's a pass just ahead. The camp is hidden beyond that ridge. Risha nodded, too tired to speak. When they finally reached the pass, the sky had turned a deep shade of orange. Sunset was near, and the air was growing colder. Grayson pulled a small device from his belt. It looked like a communicator, but older patched. Together with wires and scratched metal, he pressed a button and spoke softly. Gray Volf to Outpost 12. Requesting temporary shelter. Code, Emberfall. There was silence. Then a rough voice replied, Gray Volf? We thought you were dead. Not yet, Grayson said. I'm not alone. I've got a mother and child with me, Varnan. A pause. You're bringing a Varnan to us? Half-human child? Grayson added. They're being hunted, like we were. Another pause. Then, fine. Follow the beacon light. If you're lying, we'll bury you up here. Fair, Grayson said, turning off the device. He looked at Risha. They don't trust easy, but they'll let us in. A small red light blinked on the far ridge. Grayson led the way, carefully stepping along the cliffside trail. Risha stayed close, gripping the stone wall as she walked. Her child stirred and opened his eyes. Just a little more, she whispered to him. We're almost safe. They reached a metal door hidden behind a rock slide. As they approached, a voice shouted, "Stop!" Several figures stepped out from the shadows. They wore old rebel armor, mismatched and dented. One of them, a tall woman with cybernetic arms, raised a plasma rifle. "Who's the Varnan?" "She's with me," Grayson said. "She's not Empire. They tried to kill her too." The woman's eyes scanned Risha. "And the child?" "Just a baby," Risha said quietly. "He didn't choose his blood." The woman lowered her rifle slowly. "We'll see." The door slid open with a groan. Inside was a warm, dimly lit tunnel. They were led through winding paths underground. Walls were lined with solar panels, weapon racks, and stored supplies. Old tech blinked faintly in the dark corners. They reached a common room filled with a few rebel survivors' tough faces, tired eyes. "This is Risha," Grayson said. "She saved my life more than once. She's not the enemy." No one welcomed her. But no one raised a weapon either. That was enough. They were given a small sleeping pod to rest. Risha laid her child on the soft mat and sat beside him, touching his tiny hand. Grayson sat on the floor across from her. "Will they let us stay?" she asked. "They'll watch us. For days, maybe weeks. But if we don't cause trouble, they'll accept us." Risha looked down. "I don't want to cause trouble. I just want my son to live." Grayson nodded. "They've all lost people. Families, homes. You're not the only one." Later that night, an older man entered their pod. His hair was gray, and his left eye glowed faintly, a tech replacement. "I'm Elias," he said. "Leader of what's left here." Risha stood up quickly, nervous. "I'm not here to threaten you," Elias said. "I just want to ask one question." She nodded. "Why did you risk your life to come here? What makes you different from the rest of your kind?" Risha hesitated. "Because I chose love over orders. I broke their rules to save a child. My child." Elias stared at her for a long time. Then he said, "That's a good answer. We'll give you shelter. But you'll need to help us too." "I will," she said. He looked at Grayson. "You brought trouble again." Grayson smiled faintly. "That's what I do." Elias chuckled. Then he turned and left. Risha sat back down, feeling a strange new feeling in her chest. Not fear, not grief, but the beginning of belonging. Grayson looked at her. "Tomorrow we settle in. They'll put you to work." "I don't mind," she said, "as long as we're not running anymore." He looked at the child, now sleeping soundly. "We've bought time," he said. "Now we just have to keep it." Outside, the wind howled across the mountains, but inside, there was warmth. And hope. Our Ice HA stood at the edge of the cave entrance, holding a metal tool in her hands. Below her, the valley stretched out cold, wide, and silent. But in this hidden mountain base, life was slowly returning. 3 days had passed since Elias allowed her and Grayson to stay. They weren't treated as friends yet, but they weren't seen as enemies anymore either. Risha worked in the med bay, helping repair old equipment. Her science background made her useful, even though she didn't speak much. The rebels noticed her quiet skill. One even muttered, "Better than our last tech." While watching her fix a broken scanner, Grayson returned to training patrol teams. He knew the layout of the land better than most. He moved with the ease of someone who had fought in too many wars. But he kept checking on Risha and her child every few hours, always bringing food or warm cloth. Her child had begun to sit up, babbling softly and reaching for Grayson's beard whenever he got close. "Looks like someone's got a favorite," Risha teased once. Grayson grinned. "He's smart, knows a hero when he sees one." She laughed quietly, a soft, real laugh. The kind she hadn't made in a long time. But peace didn't last. Late that night, a scout rushed into the base. Empire scout ships above the North Ridge. No attack yet, but they're scanning. Elias ordered a full shutdown. Lights dimmed. Doors sealed. Everyone held their breath. Inside the med bay, Risha held her child tight. "How did they find us?" She whispered. Grayson joined her. Could have been a drone left behind. Or maybe someone leaked. "Do they know we're here?" "Not yet," he said. "But if they scan deep enough, this place will light up like a flare." Elias called a meeting of the base leaders. Risha and Grayson were invited to join. Inside the war room, a holomap displayed the mountain. Red dots blinked on the outer edges, scanning signals. "They're circling," Elias said. "Looking for heat. We can't use the big generators anymore. We'll freeze in 2 days without them," someone muttered. Our ICE stepped forward. "There's another way." They looked at her. "I studied energy flow," she explained. "We can reroute warmth from the underground lava pockets. It won't be strong, but it'll keep key areas from freezing." Grayson raised a brow. "You?" "Sure, yes," she said. "But I need someone to help in the lower tunnels. It's dangerous." "I'll go," Grayson said immediately. Elias nodded. "Do it. We hold off power, stay quiet, and pray they don't see us." As the others left, Grayson looked at Risha. "Are you sure about this?" She looked toward the sleeping child in the other room. "If I don't help, we lose everything we came for." They suited up and entered the lower tunnels. It was dark, full of sharp rocks and heat vents. The ground rumbled under their boots. They reached the first power node. Risha opened it carefully, connecting wires and typing codes into the console. "I need you to adjust the valve at that wall," she said. Grayson nodded and moved to a dot. Suddenly, a blast shook the tunnel. Dust fell from the ceiling. "What was that?" Risha shouted. Grayson tapped his comm. "Elias, report." A voice crackled back. They launched a probe. It struck the outer ridge. "Not a full attack yet." "We're almost done," Grayson said. "Hold on." They worked fast, sweat dripping down their faces despite the cold. Steam hissed from the vents. The lights flickered. Risha's fingers danced across the panel. Almost. A sudden spark shot from the wires, burning her hand. She gasped and pulled back. Blood mixed with metal. Grayson rushed over. "You okay?" She nodded, biting her lip. "Just finished the sequence. 3, 4. Now!" He hit the last switch. The console turned green. The heat rerouted. Above them, lights flickered on in the med bay, command center, and children's room. Not too bright, but enough to keep them alive. Elias's voice came through. "It worked. Signals are stable. Their scans passed over us. We're clear for now." Risha slumped against the wall, exhausted. Grayson helped her up and wrapped her hand in cloth. "You're a genius," he said softly. She smiled weakly. "I just want my son to live." Grayson looked at her, really looked at her. "You've already saved more than just him," he said. They walked back slowly, the heat following behind them. In the med bay, the child stirred. He reached for them, both of them, as they entered. Risha picked him up and whispered, "We're still here." And for now, that was enough. The mountain winds were quieter now, and the snow outside had begun to melt with the rising sun. Inside the rebel base, things were changing. After the successful energy reroute, the mood among the rebels had shifted. They no longer stared at Risha with suspicion. They greeted her, thanked her. One even brought her an extra blanket for her child. Grayson stood in the training yard, helping younger fighters learn how to track drones. He looked stronger now, focused, calm. Risha watched him through the glass window as she fed her son. Baby laughed and held her finger tightly. "He's getting better every day," Grayson said, walking in with 2 cups of hot root drink. Risha smiled. "He feels safe here." Grayson handed her the cup and sat beside her. "So do you?" She looked around the room. It's not home. But it's the first place I haven't had to run from. They sat in silence for a while, listening to the soft hum of the bass. Then Elias entered. His voice was steady but serious. "We need to talk." Grayson stood. "What is it?" "Empire patrols pulled back," Elias said. "But that doesn't mean they've stopped. Our spy says they're preparing something big. They think there's still someone important hiding in this zone." Risha's heart sank. "They're hunting us?" "Most likely," Elias nodded. "But we have an option." He placed a small data chip on the table. "There's a contact near the border rift. She moves people through a secret route. Dangerous, but possible. She can get you two out. Maybe even to one of the free colonies." Grayson frowned. "You want to send them away?" Elias met his eyes. "We don't have the numbers to protect a child if a full squad drops on us. You know that." Risha looked at her son, now sleeping peacefully. Grayson looked at her. "It's your choice. I'll go with you if you want." Risha's hands trembled. "I don't want to leave, but I can't risk the people here. My son's life comes first." Elias nodded. "You'll leave at first light." That night, the base threw a small gathering. Just bread, warm broth, and quiet music. But it felt like a farewell party. Risha sat with the rebels who once feared her. Now they shared stories. One gave her a carved stone charm for luck. Later, Grayson packed a small bag with food and maps. Risha stood near the door, holding her son. "You don't have to come," she said. "I know," he replied. "But I want to." She smiled. "When?" Morning came, snowflakes drifted softly again, but not in storm this time. The path was long, winding down from the mountains through dangerous terrain. Elias gave them both a nod. "If you make it, start something new. Build what we lost." "I will," Risha promised. They walked for hours, avoiding sensors and patrols. The sky darkened by the time they reached the border rift, a deep canyon that marked the edge of Varnan control. A small ship sat waiting near a hidden outcrop. An old alien woman stood beside it, her eyes sharp and silver. "You're late," she said. "But not too late." She looked at Risha, then at the child. "This one is different." "Yes," Risha said quietly. "He's both." "Then he belongs in the stars," the woman replied. "Come." They boarded the ship. It was old, scratched, but ruddy-dot as the engine started. Risha looked out at the mountains one last time. She thought of the cold, the pain of the loss, and the man who had stood by her when no one else would. Grayson sat beside her, holding the baby gently in his arms. "I used to think I was just a broken fighter," he said softly. "But now I think maybe I was waiting for this." "For what?" she asked. "For something worth protecting again." Risha placed her hand on his. "We're not running anymore," she said. "We're beginning." The ship lifted into the air. Below them, the Empire still searched, still hunted. But above them, the stars were wide and waiting. Risha closed her eyes as her child slept in peace between them. No longer outcasts, but a family. And finally free.